Hello everybody, this is James with Jammin Classics. Today we've got some more topics that we're going to cover and talk about, and we hope you enjoy the video. No, as far as like the newer modern muscle cars, I think technology has taken things way beyond what you would consider the next level. Technology is pretty incredible about how they can tune these cars and the horsepower numbers that they're getting out of these cars just based on from all the electronics that they have in them, the tuning ability that they have versus the old cars. The old cars were definitely old school. You needed a pair of pliers, a screwdriver, you adjusted it, you tuned it, and that's what you got. Then the rest of it was all driver skills. So, yeah, modern muscle has got, it's always going to be around. I'm glad to see that we pulled out of the 80s, and started, the 80s and the early 90s and started getting back into more performance. I think it took time for the manufacturers to figure out how to get horsepower and keep, emissions and the gas mileage and everything. They were scrambling all through 80 and 90 really to try to get systems developed. And so today's muscle car is a direct result of all of that hard work that they engineered and technology. Yeah, yeah. That is one. The newer cars. They are really set up for. It's hard to do any kind of performance upgrades or work on the newer ones yourself without having the professional tools, computer systems, and things to be able to make those alterations. So it pretty much leaves nothing but the cosmetics for an owner to be able to do to their car. So with that in mind, that was the fun stuff that we used to do in all of these early classic cars, because it was all about your skill and knowledge, combination of parts. These were in an era that they really, a lot of performance stuff was being developed, and the home-based hot rodder was a lot of the reason that some of this stuff became developed. So it all, if we hadn't had the early hot rods, we wouldn't have the new hot rods. Oh yeah, I think I think that the American muscle car is really an icon and will always be an icon. You find several other foreign countries now cherishing, an American muscle car, and they're nice to. It's nice to see that. I always wonder, if you have like a muscle car, a Mustang or a Camaro or something like that, and you live in Japan, how difficult it must be to acquire the parts and things that you need. Sure, anybody can go on the internet and find the stuff, but you're talking about shipping it across seas, and there's a lot of manufacturers that won't do that. So yeah, I could see it could be very difficult, to have an American muscle car anywhere other than, America. So. Oh yeah, yes, without a doubt. Like I said, and that's just, I think, due to the popularity of the American muscle car, that a lot of manufacturers, foreign manufacturers, have tried to collect some of the accents and features of things that are popular for for us and the American muscle car, and tried to incorporate it into some of their designs. And sure, that's just smart business and whatnot, you know. I just feel fortunate that we're here and we grew up with these cars. I mean, that's a pretty phenomenal thing, I think.
Yeah, definitely.
It's watching the drift show, the competitions and exhibitions that they show and everything is all pretty crazy. It's a waste of a lot of good tires for sure, because back in the day we cherished our tires, because I mean we didn't have a lot of money, and it was something to, but now they just just shred them like this, just part of their routine. But yeah, it's almost taken on a whole different art form, when you start talking about that kind of stuff. It's pretty interesting. I don't see myself ever doing it, but back in the day, in the 60s and whatnot, when we autocrossed and raced, our Shelbys and Mustangs and whatnot, we didn't have the tire technology back then that they do now. And so a lot of the tires we ran were like the Goodyear Polyglass, bias ply tires, or the Firestone 500 bias ply tires. And we were out there autocrossing on these tires. So, and if you watch any of the old vintage road racing films or anything with the Cobras and the Shelbys and the Grand Sport Corvettes and all of these cars, they were drifting back in the 50s and 60s before the kids are doing it now because of the bias ply tires. Just watch the cars drift through the corners. They're all drifting, okay? So but that's what we were used to back then,
For sure.
Well, the evolution of the tire has changed a lot of things in the sport. Has changed the motorsport industry tremendously. From back in the early days of the bias ply tire. About the only thing they could do, or that they did back then, was they worked on tread design. They worked on some softer compounds. But they didn't really have the technology of the radial tire. And with that technology, that changed the world of hot rodding quite a bit. It enabled, especially the classic muscle cars, it enabled us to actually put these cars through different racing events and actually be able to compete and have fun with the good tires. I remember the days of when I used to autocross and having a bias ply set of tires, and then when BF Goodrich came out with their TA radial, we all ran out and got BFGs on our cars. And the difference in just in autocross racing back in those days was phenomenal. It was so much fun. Now we could really start working on the suspension to start dialing it in to take advantage of the new radial tires, and it's been quite an involvement, over time. Well, I mean, back in the day, you used to see these cars in all the TV shows and the movies and everything, and in the background, it was, all the streets are full of these cars. They were daily drivers, run-of-the-mill cars, and nowadays, in the more modern movies in Hollywood and everything like that, it seems like to me, because of the popularity of the American muscle car, that a a lot of movies, or producers of these movies and writers and stuff, are trying to incorporate some of these cars into their deal because of their popularity, versus just the run-of-the-mill cars of current times. They can throw a classic in there, and it puts a different flavor on the whole show to me. I love it. I mean, I like seeing the old, classics, portrayed in the newer movies and stuff like that. It makes me sad when I see them get tore up, but yeah, but hey, it's that's the way it is. Yeah. That's Hollywood. Yeah. You have to remember that a lot of these cars that are made for the movies, they do have, they'll usually have a couple or three different vehicles that are all special built or whatever for the shows. And so they'll have one that's a fully equipped complete car that's in some of the detail shots, and then they'll have the ones that they're chasing in a chase scene or wrecking or whatever. Most of the time they're just going to be a stripped out shell of a piece of junk that they just made look good on film, just so they could tear it up. So hopefully they're not using pristine restored cars and tearing them up. That's the only way I can watch those shows, is because I'm thinking they're junkers. Hey, I appreciate you guys tuning in today. I hope we talked about a lot of interesting stuff for you, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel, and if you like the video, give us a like, and stay tuned. We're going to have some more coming up. We're going to talk about some other subjects, and we've got some classic films that we're going to get start posting of some of the old road racing and stuff like that I used to be a part of back in the 60s and 50s. And so we've got some good stuff coming. You guys subscribe and like, and we'll be back to see you.